Valerie says, after 30 years of marriage, the balance in our relationship has shifted. Early on, I leaned on my husband's nurturing energy during personal tragedies, but over time, as I became the primary breadwinner and stepped more into my masculine energy, distance has grown between us. How can we restore balance? Love the question, Valerie. Thank you. That's our final question. When it comes to what we'd call the balance of power in a relationship, there is a natural separation and decline if your authentic center of gravity, which in Valerie's case would be feminine, her husband's case would be masculine, I'm assuming, based on the nature of the question. If there is a changing of those roles, there is a natural separation, which often, without verbalizing it or proactively addressing it, as you're seeking to do now, especially from a guy's perspective, can lead to a neutrality of the energy, meaning less polarity, less passion, more androgynousness. Everybody follow? And the reason that that's common in these kind of situations is that if guys feel that they're being emasculated by no longer being the breadwinner, by no longer being the pillar of strength when it comes to holding firm and during tragedy or what have you, most guys won't seek to readdress that. They will seek to withdraw. Yeah, they go into their cave. They almost ignore it, hoping it'll go away, but then they get more and more depressed, or they will find different avenues outside of their relationship to feel like a man. Whether that's an affair, whether that's winning in business, whether that's in the gym, slinging the weights, they'll find an avenue quite often, or just shut down, right? So in situations like this, there's a friend of mine called Brigitte. She was a fellow trainer in the Tony Robbins environment, also a coach, master feng shui girl, beautiful soul. Haven't seen her for a while. But she wrote a book specifically for women who seem to have taken more of the power in their relationship due to whatever circumstances. He loses his job. He feels that he wants to be a better dad, so now he's changing more nappies than you are, whatever it may be. Right? And she wrote a book called Give Him Back His Balls. And it was really a metaphor for how do I make my man feel like a hero again? Guys, feel free to weigh in here. Don't let me put words in anybody's mouth or misdirect the feminine energy in the room. But I said it on Straight Talk 9. I want some agreement, or feel free to challenge and disagree. I'm not addicted to being right. I'm addicted to helping the women on this call. We would do anything to light up our partners. We want to feel like a hero. Yes or no? Right? Give me some feedback in the chat. It means so much to us to have the opportunity to be a hero in our relationship. Yeah, ladies, look at the chat. You know, one of the challenges with that is that, as I said on the Straight Talk, if the women here of kind of the generation that were girls in the 1970s or 80s or 90s, most of what they grew up with, if it was a matriarchal influence, was single moms, classic example, or were essentially given the instruction: never position yourself where you have to rely on a man, because if you do, you're screwed. So there's nothing men can do that women can't do. Okay, maybe write your name in snow, but that's the magician coming out of me again. But there's nothing that women, you can't do that a man can do, right? In fact, there's more than what you can do, because you can give birth and they can't, right? Well, whatever the argument that basically powered feminism was a pendulum swing from the traditional, patriarchal, low conscious dominance of the feminine, where masculines use their monopoly on force in order to suppress the power of the feminine over centuries, not just generations. So therefore, when freedom started coming out, which started with the right to vote, which started with things like the right to have a bank account, and culminated in the ultimate level of sexual freedom, which is when the pill was introduced in the 60s. Now, women could choose whether they want to have children or not. That gave freedom, and the pendulum swing of feminism was essentially powered by a resistance to the masculine level of dominance that at a low conscious level had dominated over centuries. And it's very similar to in module 4, where I talk about mastering emotions. When you finally let go, there is a back pressure of that emotion that is released that people then want to try to suppress and start the cycle again. You remember that when we're treating the knee? So that back pressure that had been built up, that frustration that had been built up, the pendulum swung too far the other way under the guise of feminism. And therefore, it's like, we don't need men. What they were really saying, if they're being more accurate and slightly more articulate at a level of consciousness that would actually verbalize that, is we want to be able to demonstrate that we are so independent that we never can be subject to being dominated at the expense of our sovereignty. That's essentially the message. But it got taken through a bit like when Nelson Mandela became president in South Africa. Most of the country was, screw the whites, now it's our turn. We've been suppressed for so long. Let's go screw them up. Let's see how they like it. It's the wrong energy, which is why when Mandela stepped up and created the Rainbow Nation and says, listen, if I can forgive them, what excuse have you got? Total genius, total sovereign, total statesman, no politician. It was a different level of energy. And so from a masculine perspective, a guy wants the opportunity to be a hero. And if you can give him that, rather than try to take over because, you're being too much of a mummy to him, or you've attracted somebody that couldn't spell hero, right? Set him up to win. Some of you are like, hang on, if I don't do this, nobody else will. Then let it fail, but support him. Give him the opportunity, encourage him. And if he does try to hit the bat out of the park and it flies out of his fingers and breaks the mantelpiece crystal, right? Love him for it. Support him for it. Don't make him feel like a failure. If he does that, he's going to withdraw. Because if he can't feel like a hero in your relationship, don't expect him to bring himself, his whole self, to it.